tonight on CBC Vancouver News.
We just saw someone with bloody hands. Then somebody told us what actually happened.
Charges laid after an officer and a woman are stabbed at a Delta elementary school. And
the fentanyl epidemic is a natural consequence of heroin prohibition.
Would legal heroin sales help curb BC's opioid epidemic? Also,
we need to make sure that the allowable cut is not pampered by the Caribou.
locking antlers in the peace, why the fight to save endangered mountain caribou is running into opposition.
This is CBC Vancouver News.
Good evening. Charges have been laid after a woman and a police officer were stabbed outside a Delta elementary school. Both victims remain in hospital this evening.
CBC's Dan Burrett joins us live now. And Dan, what more do we know about what led up to this fight?
Well, not much. Police are saying very little, but they do say the 41-year-old woman who was stabbed yesterday was in a relationship with a suspect who's now charged. It happened just after 3 p.m. yesterday outside Immaculate Conception Elementary School in North Delta. Just as school was ending for the day. A parent who was waiting outside the school just happened to be Delta Police Acting Sergeant John Jasmines, off duty, there to pick up his own children. Delta's police chief says Jasmines noticed a fight between a man and a woman, and he went to break it up.
And actually tackles the male that is involved in that fight. During the tackle and during the holding down of that particular male, Acting Sergeant Jasmines gets stabbed several times, and in addition, the female is stabbed several times.
Other officers were on scene within a minute. They arrested a suspect, and both Jasmines and the woman were rushed to hospital in critical condition. Busy scene, as you can see. The woman is still in serious condition, but the force says she is improving. Jasmines is now listed in stable condition. School children and parents who were on scene were rushed to a gym for their safety. Thankfully, none of them were hurt. Still a very worrying afternoon, and that's why the school was closed today.
Teachers just rushed us inside. First we were at the gym entrance, and then one of the teachers just told us to go inside the gym instead.
We're hoping to have counselors on site tomorrow to support the kids, and we had the victim services from Delta Police here. They were a great assistance. The police yesterday were fantastic, assisting our families and staff get through the crisis.
Dan, what do we know about the suspect charged in this case?
He's 49-year-old Manoj George of Delta. He is charged now with 2 counts of aggravated assault and 2 counts of assault with a weapon. Later on in the program, we're going to show you a bit more of Acting Sergeant John Jasmine's career and how, despite his injuries, he says he's been training for moments like this his entire career. So stick around. Anita, Mike?
Thanks very much, Dan.
The case of a missing Surrey woman has now turned into a homicide investigation. 38-year-old Rajwinder Bain's body has now been found after canvassing neighborhoods and surveillance video. Police are calling it a targeted incident and say there's no risk to the public. Baines was last seen January 7th, leaving a TD Canada Trust at Highway 10 and 152nd Street. Anyone with information is asked to contact the Homicide Investigation Team.
A man in Courtenay is in hospital after being shot in the groin. Comox Valley RCMP were called to this apartment building just after 6 a.m. A man was found on the ground with at least 1 gunshot wound to his upper thigh. Neighbors say he was conscious but in pain when he was taken to emergency.
I didn't really look at him. I was literally just had my hands in the one place the whole time, and I basically just put as much pressure on the wound as I could until the police and EMTs got there.
Investigators are calling the shooting targeted. No word yet on the victim's condition, and anyone with information about the shooting is asked to call Comox Valley RCMP.
I'll talk about a close call. A girder fell from a construction crane in downtown Vancouver this afternoon. Have a look. Witnesses say the crane was working on a site along Hornby Street between Drake and Davie. It dropped the large block right onto the sidewalk there. Fortunately, no injuries have been reported, and no cars were damaged either. Experts around substance abuse in British Columbia are recommending the sale of regulated pure heroin to try to tackle the overdose crisis.
The plan involves creating a compassion club of sorts, but as the CBC's Rafferty Baker reports, the idea is still a long way from becoming a reality. Well, some audio problems with that story. We'll try to get back to it in just a bit. BC's top health official says his ministry is exploring vaccine regulations following this month's measles outbreak. Adrian Dix says mandatory registration would help increase BC's rate of immunization. The idea has been under active consideration since 2014 when another measles outbreak swept the Fraser Valley. Dix is stopping short of providing specific details, but is saying action is coming. 9 cases of measles have been identified in Vancouver so far. Well, 2018 saw a drop in nearly all types of violent crime in Vancouver. The VPD's year-end report says homicides decreased from 19 in 2017 to 15 last year. Traffic incidents down as well, with 1 fewer traffic death and a nearly 5% drop in traffic injuries. Overall, though, property crime did go up slightly, and cases of people stealing things from cars up more than 16%. 1 man is dead, 2 people, including a child, seriously hurt after crashing into a tree last night west of Port Alberni. Police say it happened along Highway 4. The male passenger died of his injuries, while the female driver and a 3-year-old child are in hospital. The 6-year-old passenger is expected to be fine. Police say no one was wearing a seatbelt, and while the cause of the crash is being investigated, they do say road conditions were icy. Well, as we approach tax season, the RCMP is warning about thieves targeting your mail. To keep yourself safe from theft, Mounties recommend checking your mailbox at least daily to make sure no sensitive documents are left unattended for long. If you expect to be away from your home for several days, you should ask a neighbor or a friend to mind your mailbox. And once you're finished filing your taxes, shred unneeded documents. A new turn tonight in the spending scandal swirling around 2 top BC government officials. The lawyer for Clerk of the House, Craig James, and Sergeant-at-Arms, Gary Lenz, says his clients are being unfairly treated. And a new report from Speaker Darryl Plecas was released just about an hour ago.
Move that the committee publicly release the report on the written responses by the Speaker.
No opposed. Unanimous. Motion passed.
The report is the Speaker's response to James and Lenz's explanation of their spending habits, which sparked an RCMP investigation last year. And for more on this, we turn to our provincial affairs reporter, Tanya Fletcher, who is live in Victoria. Tanya, what are we learning from the new report?
Well, Speaker Darryl Plecas, Anita, in this new report basically refutes a lot of those claims that Lenz and James made in their official responses, including 20 separate things that he essentially denies Plecas, including that he didn't want to upset the NDP and wanting his own wine label from Painted Rock. That's what Darryl Plecas says is not in fact true. And it goes on to outline a few of the other explosive things we saw in that initial report about, for example, the infamous wood splitter. This new report from the Speaker has a photo showing a cement pad with that wood splitter and trailer parked at the home of Clerk Craig James. He uses that as evidence. And it also highlights that a tour James organized to learn about earthquake preparedness was actually a whale watching trip, and that a seminar about emergency evacuations was actually a Seattle Mariners baseball game. So those are some of the things Plecas is outlining in his new report. And we caught up with him just a few moments ago. Here he is talking more about how he feels now that it's been released.
I've tried to present that in as forthright, independent fashion as possible, and let people work from the premise that the facts speak for themselves. I think that's where that will be the acid test.
Okay, a lot of back and forth here, Tanya. So what happens next?
Right. So out of that LAMC meeting, which just wrapped up about an hour ago, we learned a few new things about what's next. So first of all of those reports that we've been talking about up until now will officially be released publicly. Also, we've learned that BC's Auditor General Carol Bellringer will be the one to officially conduct the forensic audit. And also that workplace review is still going to be conducted internally. And perhaps most interesting today is this new development is that an independent review is going to be brought in to deal with all of the allegations in these reports. And the House leaders gathered today, again, just a few minutes ago in response to this, and they all agreed that that independent review will be conducted by a retired Supreme Court justice. Here's Government House Leader Mike Farnworth talking more about what that review will look at.
It deals with the issues, it will deal with issues raised in that report. It will be focused, and those are the issues that the committee will be dealing with in terms of the scope and the eminent jurist who will be conducting that.
And keep in mind, we still have this ongoing RCMP investigation with the assistance of those two special prosecutors. And the two suspended are going to stay on paid administrative leave for now. Now, their lawyer was also here today. We spoke with him in the hallways, and he wasn't too pleased with the developments. Take a listen.
I want to make clear to the committee that, in my view, they should not be disclosing, publishing further reports from the Speaker, which have not been provided to either Mr. James or Mr. Lentz, despite request, and upon which they have had no opportunity to comment.
And now that ball goes back into the court of Craig James and Gary Lentz. We'll see what their response is to all of these developments today. Mike, Anita?
Tanya Fletcher live at the legislature tonight. Thanks.
Another beautiful day outside today, but I know meteorologist Johanna Wagstaff is here now to give us a little bit of bad news, depending on how you feel about the white stuff.
Exactly, or depending on how your feelings have been changing now that we're on round 6 of snow in the forecast. You might not feel the same about it as you did with the first round back in early February. Waiting for it tonight under cloudy skies, but we did start off with some sunshine. Let me show you the temperatures out here right now. Dropping down below 0 tonight, even though we're a couple above at this hour. 4 for YVR, 3's out towards Pitt Meadows and Abbotsford, and a -1 as we head out towards Hope. Temperatures will drop down just enough below freezing that when the next system moves in, nice and early tomorrow morning, it is likely it'll start as snow for most of Metro Vancouver. So here's Environment Canada's snowfall warning. 5 to 10 centimeters, but amounts will be quite variable. I think this is more of a classic South Coast snow setup where we will see less amounts, more rain towards southern sections of Metro Vancouver and areas closer to the water, and higher amounts out towards the valley and closer to the North Shore, north of Highway 1. We also have those snowfall warnings extending right up through the Sunshine Coast, and the island will see some snow, but this is more of a higher elevation story. So there's that cold front quickly moving into our cool air. I will break this down for you coming up, but get ready for a snowy rush hour tomorrow morning. It's a fast moving system, so we may see some sun by the end of the day, but I'll tell you all about it coming up.
Ready for round 6. All right, thanks, Joe.
You're welcome.
This weather update is brought to you by your local RE/MAX agent. The experience, the tools, the know-how. That's the sign of a RE/MAX agent.
Well, the fight to save endangered caribou could run into some opposition in BC's Peace region.
The provincial government is working with First Nations on a draft plan to preserve the approximately 200 Central Mountain caribou left.
But as our Justin McElroy explains, most elected officials are more worried about the effect that might have on their citizens.
In northeastern BC, there is an ongoing tension between the interests of heavy industry and protecting caribou habitat. But a new plan to protect the endangered species is coming soon. This week we're in Tumbler Ridge, where the mayor is hoping the provincial government will listen to local government. Tumbler Ridge is known for two things: dinosaurs and mining. But the mayor worries that if too much land around here is protected to help save the caribou, the mining industry may also one day go extinct.
Well, a lot of the area that is considered caribou habitat is in the high altitude ranges, and that's where a lot of, unfortunately, that's where a lot of our coal mines are.
Keith Bertram says he's hopeful a balance can be struck, but with multiple public meetings canceled by the provincial government, Residents are fearing the worst.
People at Tumbler Ridge recognize the fact that caribou are endangered and they're in trouble. We take ownership to our backcountry too, so we really want to help in any way that we can. The biggest problem is we just don't know what the plan is.
But it's not just people on Tumbler Ridge who are concerned. All throughout the Peace River, there are municipalities big and small, where the main draw is industry, but also the backcountry, leading mayors throughout the region worried about what could happen under this new plan.
We need to make sure that the allowable cut is not hampered by the caribou.
Chetwynd's mayor says his 2 mills provide about 20% of the town's tax base, and when the employees aren't at work, there's a chance they're on the open land.
We're talking people that work in the gas plants, that work in the sawmills, and if part of those aren't working, they're not going out there.
There's always a disconnect between the North and the South in our province. We are so diverse and we don't understand each other's issue.
Kathleen Connolly is part of a group that has gained over 25,000 signatures.
We are a resource part of the province. We are mining, we are fishing, or forestry, and we are oil and gas and ag. And when you take land away, it affects the ability of all those industries to be able to work here.
The province won't make any guarantees on what types of protection the Caribou draft plan will or won't include, but says communities will be fully consulted.
Well, what I can guarantee is once we are able to fully flesh out the analysis and data for potential impacts, we'll be sharing those with those communities. No final agreement has been signed.
Of course, this is all speculation because no one has seen that final report yet, but it is coming out imminently. And when it does, the government might have another hot potato on its hands. Justin McElroy, CBC News, Tumbler Ridge.
And just a reminder, you can always watch CBC Vancouver News at 6 on our website, cbc.ca/BC.
And if you're watching us right now on Facebook or YouTube, we are also live during the upcoming commercial break.
Pushback against allegations of political interference by the Prime Minister's office. The Justice Committee hears from its first witnesses today in the SNC-Lavalin controversy. What was said next? Welcome and thank you so much for watching on Facebook and YouTube. And this is really the newest way that we bring you the news online.
Yes, it certainly is. And for this Throwback Thursday, we're bringing you a feature on a pioneering British Columbian. Back in 1973, Wayne Wong was one of the first big stars of freestyle skiing or hot dogging. The Vancouverite even invented his own trick, the Wong Banger.
All right, hopefully we get to see that. Hot dogging was a breath of fresh air in competitive skiing at the time when downhill was really the only form around. So let's take a look.
In the 1950s, the world's greatest skier was Tony Seiler of Austria. In the 1960s, Jean-Claude Killy of France was king of the mountain. In the 70s, who's causing all the excitement?
Wayne.
Wayne who?
Wong.
Why?
Because I think he's really good.
I have to admit that Wayne Wong has to be a favorite of mine.
Oh, I came over to see Wayne Wong. I've been watching him around the slopes for the last couple of years, and he's brought this type of sport along quite a bit, and the kids are learning it. A lot of other people are learning it, too.
The sport is a new craze called hot dog skiing, and a 23-year-old from Vancouver is its biggest star.
Wayne Wong is an unusual boy. I think he has real star charisma. He's a very natural boy. He's a good, healthy, outdoor Canadian type. And the Americans love him.
Hot dog, or freestyle skiing, emphasizing technique and high-spirited imagination rather than sheer speed, is a natural outgrowth of the boom in recreational skiing. In the United States, it's already beginning to outdraw racing in spectator appeal.
At the Olympics, you guys are great. You go straight and you turn left and right. Big deal, you know. The guys who can really ski are the boys that go on the backside of the mountain and play when nobody's looking.
We just go down the hill as fast and as crazy as we can.
Outrigger! It's such a liberating thing. You know, it's epitomized by the phrase, get it on. You know, let it all hang out. It's the young generation doing their thing.
Right now, I'm getting a little bit uptight about it because they're putting a little bit too many rules down. We're freestyling, I think you just got to go out and do your own thing without people telling you what to do and where to do it.
Quite the tumble there. Didn't you have hair like that at one point?
Sure, at one time. I was going to say a couple of things.
He's going right past that.
No, he's rocking the great hair, but way ahead of his time. Like, think of what we see now.
Nobody was doing any of that
Freestyle
stuff then.
skiing and the half pipe and at the X Games and all that stuff. So
Wayne Wong. Wayne Wong's?
Wayne Wong.
Wayne Wong. Good for him.
The banger. Wayne banger. Very good.
All right, we will be back in just a few moments with some more news.
Experts in substance use in BC are recommending the sale of regulated pure heroin to try to tackle the overdose crisis.
The plan involves creating a compassion club of sorts, but as the CBC's Rafferty Baker reports, the idea is still a long way from becoming a reality.
I buried my first heroin friend who died of heroin in 1969, but I've never seen anything like it is today. If 1,500 people died every year in car accidents in this province, the speed limit would be 5 miles an hour.
I'll look into it. That's all I can do.
Dean Wilson has done heroin for the better part of 50 years. He's on opioid replacement now, but he lives in the middle of the overdose crisis. Wilson is one of the people behind the proposal for a heroin buyers club in Vancouver's downtown east side.
Let's get off sitting on our hands. We've got to do something. If it isn't this, do something. We're dying.
The new idea is to create a co-op where people assessed by health professionals could become members and buy pure medical-grade heroin. It's a bold concept, but in the context of the overdose crisis, killing about 4 British Columbians each day, people are getting desperate. The idea took inspiration from the Cannabis Compassion Clubs or the Dallas Buyers Club, which gave patients access to life-saving medication during the peak of the AIDS epidemic.
If we regulate and control access to heroin to those with severe addiction, people addicted to fentanyl, and co-locate those services with addiction treatment and recovery-oriented services, as well as public health services, we can probably have a dramatic benefit to British Columbians by waging economic war on organized crime.
The Heroin Buyers Club has the support of the provincial health officer, but Dr. Bonnie Henry says it will have to be done cautiously and studied carefully.
I will do my best to advocate for it. I'm not the one who makes all of the decisions around particularly things like funding programs, and I am advocating with the federal government around some of the restrictions under the Controlled Drugs and Substances Act that need to be lifted to allow this to happen.
This is a new proposal. I have not had the opportunity to review it yet. Ultimately, the decision on this would be the federal government's.
Which sends the ball into the federal government's court. Health Canada says it takes a compassionate, evidence-based approach to drug policy. One change the federal government has made is making it possible for doctors to prescribe heroin. Wood says the BCCSU hopes to see its vision become a reality within about 6 months. But first, it will have some significant hoops to jump through if it's going to be done legally. Rafferty Baker, CBC News, Vancouver.
Canada's most powerful bureaucrat says he doesn't believe the former Attorney General was pressured in the SNC-Lavalin case.
Privy Council Clerk Michael Wernick's statement came as the first witnesses began to testify at the House of Commons Justice Committee. And our David Cochran has the latest.
The Justice Committee wants Jody Wilson-Raybould to speak her truth. Today, Michael Wernick spoke his.
The Globe and Mail article contains errors, unfounded speculation, and in some cases is simply defamatory.
In extraordinary testimony, the clerk of the Privy Council offered public comment on private meetings that are part of a political scandal, giving a broad defense of the government he serves.
In my observation and my experience, they have always conducted themselves to the highest standards of integrity. You may not like their politics or their policies or their tweets, but they have always been guided by trying to do the right thing
Wernick also offered specific insights into key moments of the SNC-Lavalin timeline. Of note, he corroborated the Prime Minister's version of his September 17th meeting with Wilson Raybould, during which Trudeau says he reassured her that she would make the final call on SNC-Lavalin.
He indicated that it was entirely her call to make, that she was the decider. And that is a message. If you that is a message that the Prime Minister conveyed to the Minister on every situation that I'm aware of that it came up.
Wernick also released letters from December showing the Prime Minister turning down meetings with SNC's top brass, telling them to speak to Wilson Raybould.
At every opportunity, verbally and in writing in December, the Prime Minister made it clear that this was the decision for the Minister of Justice to take.
But there is also a December 19th phone call Wernick made to Wilson Raybould, a call that could be interpreted as pressure, a call in which Wernick mentioned SNC-Lavalin and consequences.
I conveyed to her that a lot of her colleagues and the Prime Minister were quite anxious, was conveying context that there were a lot of people worried about what would happen, the consequences, not for her, the consequences for the workers and the communities and the suppliers.
The question is whether that call was improper pressure, or if Wilson Raybould could interpret it that way.
I think the matter may come down to the Ethics Commissioner's view on a conversation between two people, between what was sent and what was received.
The Ethics Commissioner is conducting a review, but the opposition has already reached a verdict.
I think the testimony is stunning. I think the amount of pressure that the Prime Minister's office, either through his own operatives or through the clerk of the Privy Council, is incredibly unprecedented.
David Cochran, CBC News, Ottawa.
Saskatchewan is introducing new mandatory training for semi-truck drivers in the wake of last year's tragic Humboldt Broncos bus crash.
But now there is a rush of would-be drivers trying to get their licenses before the new rules take effect. The CBC's Baliana explains why.
In just 3 weeks, it will become more difficult, more expensive, and more time-consuming to get a Class 1 license to drive a semi in Saskatchewan. So, before the mandatory training rules come into effect, there's been a surge of drivers rushing to get their Class 1 road test, 3 times as many as this time last year. In December, the province announced mandatory training and promised more rigorous driving tests offered only by SGI. Now, most drivers, about 90%, already take some basic training before they get their license. It usually takes about a week and costs between $2,000 and $3,000. Under the new system, it will be 121.5 hours of training, take close to a month, and cost at least $8,000 to $10,000. And many would-be drivers say that's simply too steep of a price tag.
New rules coming very soon, and the money is going to be up, and we are not afford to, to pay that more money.
If I don't get now, I pay more money than this time.
Since the new rules were announced in early December, nearly 1,500 drivers have taken their Class 1 test. In the same period the year before, fewer than 500 drivers took the test.
We are receiving a lot of calls every day, almost 10 to 12 calls every day. And most of them are farmers and immigrants. They want to get their license as soon as possible.
The federal government has announced that minimum training standards will be introduced across the country next year. Bonnie Allen, CBC News, Regina.
The police officer stabbed during an altercation at a school in Delta is recovering in hospital tonight. Coming up, what he said in a recent CBC documentary that really hit home during the violent incident. And here are some of the stories we're following tonight on CBC Vancouver News.
That through the regulation and control of the heroin market, we can actually reduce the number of opioid-addicted individuals in British Columbia.
A vision for how to sell heroin legally in this province as health officials grapple with an unrelenting overdose crisis. The idea is to create a heroin buyers club to sell regulated pure heroin to people addicted to opioids. The plan's architects, which include doctors, addictions experts, and drug users, drew inspiration from the cannabis compassion clubs in the 90s, which provided access to medical marijuana.
A Delta man is facing several charges tonight after the stabbing of a police officer and a woman. It happened outside an elementary school yesterday, around the time the kids were being let out of class.
CBC News at 11 host Dan Burritt joins us once again. And Dan, the victims were taken to hospital in serious condition. How are they doing now?
Anita, Mike, the 41-year-old woman is in serious condition, but Delta police say she is improving. Acting Sergeant John Jasmines is in stable condition. He was the off-duty officer who was waiting for his two kids at Immaculate Conception Elementary yesterday afternoon when he stepped in to break up a fight between a man and a woman. He and the woman were stabbed and rushed to hospital. It turns out we've spoken with Jasmines before, as you can see. He was one of several first responders profiled in a CBC documentary in 2016. He has worked homicides, and more recently, he's worked with kids at risk. And his training years ago seems to have paid off. Have a listen.
It's very important to stay in shape. You got the kind of job where at any point in time, I could be out of my car and running. I could be arresting somebody. I could be in a fight or a confrontation. I hung out with a lot of the people that you would see in the news, people that ended up going down a very different path than I have. When I talk to the kids that are kind of now involved and kind of the up and coming, I've known people that they kind of idolize and known the guys they've known to get killed, and they know that I know what I'm talking about.
And Dan, have police released anything more about what led up to this fight?
Not yet, Anita, no. We do know the man arrested and charged was in some kind of relationship with a 41-year-old woman who was stabbed. Remember, all this happened just as school was getting out for the day yesterday. Students, parents, and staff hustled to a nearby gym for safety. Thankfully, none of them were hurt. But some did see the fight, including Jasmine's own children. He thanked them in a message his chief read today.
I also want to express gratitude to the Surrey RCMP and my amazing wife and my children who were so brave, and the children who were so brave and had the awareness and composure to run into the nearest adult and direct them to call 911. So John's kids were actually coming out and were unfortunately witness to some of this as their dad was being in this struggle.
Now, as for the suspect, 49-year-old Manoj George of Delta, is charged with 2 counts of aggravated assault and assault with a weapon. He is due back in Surrey Provincial Court on Monday, and we'll have all of this and more tonight at 11 o'clock. Mike, Anita?
Dan, thanks very much.
At 6:34 on this Thursday evening, you're looking at a live shot of the Port of Vancouver. Beautiful day out there today, but we're in for a different story tomorrow. Snow is on the way, and Johanna has the full forecast coming up. Well, here's something you don't see often. This is an ice disc spinning on a small river in eastern Quebec.
Like a real ice disc.
Yeah.
Entirely natural phenomenon occurring when a circular current creates a whirlpool effect below the ice.
Heroin horse spotted the cool disc while out snowshoeing with friends on the Gaspé Peninsula. Add that to my bucket list of natural phenomenon I'd like to see.
I wonder how big that is.
Yeah, I know, you can't get a perspective.
No, not at all.
Very neat.
All right. Okay,
Perfect
so no
transition
spinning
into
discs.
Yes, I was wondering if you were going to ask if we had those in the forecast. I don't know if conditions are quite right for that, but they are quite right for some snowfall tomorrow. Before we break it down, let's just be reminded of how great the past couple days were.
Beautiful.
Yes, stunning start to our Thursday out there. Nothing but blue for most of the day. We saw those high clouds inch in towards the afternoon hours ahead of the front that will be tomorrow's story. But man, that was a nice way to take in a couple days between systems in what will undoubtedly be one of our snowiest and coldest Februaries on record across the South Coast. A quick look at those snowfall warnings again. I also want to mention that BC Avalanche has issued a special warning for the South Coast and Vancouver Island. There's a very weak layer, about 50 centimeters down below the snowpack. Add on another 10 to 30 centimeters over the next 24 hours, and that is a very unstable layer in the backcountry. This is the cold front that will be adding on that extra snow. Watch as I take you through the overnight, pausing you tomorrow morning. That purple showing up as snow across the South Coast. Now, that rain-snow line, as is often the case for snow events here, will be running right through Metro Vancouver. Again, sort of south of the Fraser, down towards White Rock and Yard. This may be more of a wet snow mix, and it will be changing over to rain as we head into the day. But most of the snow actually happens in our morning hours. So between 7 and noon, that's when that front races through. It's not a very long time to see accumulations, but we will get some heavier bursts. So reduced visibility on the road in the morning is possible because of those heavy snowfall rates. Look at this, by 5 p.m., actually getting some sunny breaks out there as that front tracks eastward. We still have to contend with the center of the low that will arrive for Saturday. So look at this, there's 10 a.m. on Saturday. Possible that we'll see a few more centimeters accumulation across the South Coast to kick off the weekend, but a lot more disruptive tomorrow as it lines up with the morning rush hour. If you can head out a little earlier, leave a lot of extra time. Again, between 7 a.m. and noon looks to be those heavier bursts. We are getting some snow on the island, not as big of a story, maybe a couple centimeters for the Malahat at the peak. Over towards the lower mainland, though, this is one of our high-resolution models. Some of the other ones are bringing trace amounts all the way down to Delta, but at this point, I think the heavier amounts will be north of Highway 1 towards the North Shore, Coquitlam, Maple Ridge, and then out towards the valley where you could see snow a little longer through the afternoon. So there's that cold front tracking down into the cold air, bringing with it the precip that we will see tomorrow, and then watch the center of that low makes its way into Vancouver for Saturday. Let's take a look at the long-range forecast. We've got temperatures dipping down below zero for the next few days. A little bit of a warmer Saturday evening. Again, not as much snow on Saturday, and I think we'll see that change over to rain a little earlier in the day. Hoping for a sunny Sunday at this point. Just incredible, though, how cool the long-range forecast remains. Don't see seasonal anytime soon.
Well, as long as the sun comes along with it, well, perfect.
Thank you for the silver lining.
Okay.
There you go.
I disagree, but okay.
Thanks, Jim.
This weather update is brought to you by RE/MAX. What's your home worth? Find out with our instant valuation tool at remax.ca.
He is accused of staging a racist and homophobic attack on himself. Coming up, Empire actor Jussie Smollett has been released from jail after posting bond.
Hi, I'm Amy Bell, and here's what's in your CBC Vancouver inbox.
CBC Vancouver's a proud season sponsor of the Corleone Men's Choir. Get your tickets for their latest show, Pop Capella, an exploration of the intersection of choral, jazz, and pop music. And don't miss the Talking Stick Festival. Catch extraordinary performances and art featuring some of the best Indigenous artists Turtle Island has to offer. For more on these events, check us out online.
Actor Jussie Smollett appeared in a Chicago courthouse today after posting $100,000 bail. He's accused of staging a racist and homophobic attack against himself.
Initially, Smollett's tale of the assault was met with sympathy and support, but now, as Ellen Morrow reports, the reaction is disappointment and anger.
Offended and angry, that's how Chicago's top cop described his feelings today.
Jussie Smollett took advantage of the pain and anger of racism to promote his career.
I will never be the man that this did not happen to.
In this tearful account of the attack, Smollett described his assailants as homophobic, racist Trump supporters who shouted MAGA, Make America Great Again.
And that says a lot about the place that we are in our country right now. The fact that we have these fear mongrels, these people that are trying to separate us.
By invoking America's deep divide, Smollett triggered a cultural moment. First, an outpouring of sympathy from celebrities and Democrats.
He's a lovely person. No one deserves any of this. No. And it's terrifying.
No, it's scary. It's scary.
Then backlash as the story started to unravel.
It sounded like a fake story from the first second I heard it.
That, I can tell you, is horrible.
That was President Trump last month. Today, he taunted Smollett, tweeting, "What about MAGA and the tens of millions of people you insulted with your racist and dangerous comments?" Smollett's initial defenders are now backing away. Democratic presidential hopeful Kamala Harris at first described Smollett as a victim of an attempted modern-day lynching. Tonight, tweeting she's sad, frustrated, and disappointed.
Was a wonderful person.
Actress Sherry Shepherd also supported Smollett originally.
Now that we're finding out all of this other stuff, it's really terrible, but we cannot lose our humanity.
And I want a little gay boy who might watch this to see that I fought back.
That's what he said, but police say Smollett's alleged lies might make it harder for real victims to be believed.
Sometimes you feel insecure.
And all of this for what? According to police, money. Smollett, they say, was seeking publicity to get a higher salary. The fallout from all this, even deeper fissures in an already divided America. Ellen Morrow, CBC News, Washington.
A U.S. Coast Guard officer accused of plotting a terrorist attack will stay in federal custody. A judge in Maryland ruled that Christopher Paul Hassan will remain detained while other charges are prepared. Hassan was arrested last week on gun and drug charges. He's alleged to be a white supremacist and is accused of stockpiling weapons and compiling a hit list of prominent Democrats. Prosecutors are calling those alleged offenses the proverbial tip of the iceberg.
Well, today marked the first day of an unprecedented summit in Rome to confront child sex abuse within the Roman Catholic Church.
As the CBC's Thomas Degler reports, up for discussion is whether the Canadian approach to tackling the issue could work around the world.
Upwards of 200 Catholic bishops, senior clerics, and church officials from around the world are here at the Vatican discussing behind closed doors a path forward to eradicating what Pope Francis today called the scourge of sexual abuse by men of the Catholic Church. He told them to take concrete steps, agree to some way forward to eradicate this problem. What could those solutions be? Well, we learned from organizers today that Pope Francis has floated the idea of raising the minimum age for marriage within the Catholic Church for women from 14 up to 16 years old. Apparently, he sees that as an initial solution. And many of the organizers here have talked about the Canadian model for monitoring and transparency in regards to eradicating sexual abuse within Catholic dioceses in Canada and indeed could be around the world. There's no indication that there will be a one-size-fits-all solution to this, given that every country is a little different with different levels of resources. But But the Canadian representative here, Lionel Gendron, who is the president of the Canadian Conference of Catholic Bishops, he told me perhaps Canadian experts could travel around the world and help. Listen.
We will probably have some teams who are going to go in different countries. And probably Canada. Throughout the years, we've developed certain capacities that we will be invited to go and help other countries, really to get rid of that problem.
Before this summit even got underway, the Pope tried to tone down expectations, saying that abuse will continue. He called it a human problem, not a clerical problem. So survivors who have come to the Vatican to witness this moment are gearing up for what could be disappointment. All they want, the only thing they will accept, is zero tolerance within the Catholic Church. Thomas Dagg, CBC News at the Vatican.
It's been a rough 24 hours for Nike. The company's share value is slipping today, and its reputation is being scuffed up on social media. As Greg Ross tells us, it's all because of an embarrassing incident involving a rising basketball superstar.
Slipping and injured. It's a moment that will live on blooper reels for years, and Brad White of Toronto was there to see it in person. So this is the ticket.
Yes, ticket, row H, 8 rows back.
Close enough to have a clear view of Zion Williamson as his foot burst through his shoe just 33 seconds into the Duke Blue Devils game versus the University of North Carolina.
Took the air out of the arena in a millisecond. He did the splits in the middle of the court. You couldn't really tell right away that the shoe popped off, but then he was in great pain. One of his teammates went to reach to bring him up, and then you saw the shoe floating on the floor.
He says he had never seen anything like that before, but Toronto Raptors point guard Fred VanVleet says it's not as uncommon as you think.
It happens all the time. I'm not sure it happens to a player like that on that stage all the time, but I mean, it's happened to me. It's happened to most guys before. It's unfortunate. And I think he actually had a real injury after that. Maybe it was a knee or something. I didn't follow the game too closely, but just hope the kid's all right.
White says inside the arena, fans quickly turned their attention to Nike, the company that made the exploding shoe.
Everyone was joking in the crowd in the bleachers about Puma, Under Armour, whoever was going to come in and take out Nike. It was anti-Nike from the moment it happened.
Even Nike stock took a hit this morning.
No one wants an equipment malfunction to happen in the context of a live sporting event.
This marketing expert says he doesn't expect it to have a long-term impact on the brand.
Get in front of it proactively like Nike does and potentially look at ways to turn this negative into a positive story about the player and the shoe itself and rebounding.
Like in basketball.
Just like in basketball, they'll bounce back.
White has already watched the highlight a number of times, and he expects to see it many more in the coming years, and each time he'll be able to say he was there. That's going to live on forever.
Yeah, it'll live forever. It'll be fixed in time.
Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
Yeah, it was a big, important game. Not only did the shoe explode, but they lost. So it's too bad.
And tough to watch that shoe come out as a basketball player.
You
it's not
don't want that happening. No.
All right, well, sales of service robots hit nearly $9 billion last year, an increase of more than 30% from 2017.
So as machines get smarter, how many more people will robots displace in the workforce? Kim Brunhuber has more.
At only 3 feet tall, he's a model employee, works 24/7 with no breaks for free. Wally is, of course, a robot, programmed to interact with guests and to deliver things to rooms.
Hi, Wally.
Latasha McDowell says it's like having R2-D2 show up at your door.
All set.
And he doesn't expect a tip.
What do you think? This is very cool. I love it. Yay!
Wally is a service robot, loosely defined as a robot that performs useful tasks for humans in a non-industrial setting, like a home or a store. A recent study by a Washington think tank suggested automation will threaten a quarter of U.S. jobs. This has many workers wondering, will a robot replacement be coming for them?
Some people say this is a bit like walking a dog.
David Crawley is the founder of a robotics company that designed Magni.
The robot has a neural net, which is a little bit like a human brain.
Crawley says the technology is advancing so quickly, robots could eventually be doing a lot of the work Canadians are doing now.
They're able to move things from one place to another. They're able to interact with objects and do the sorts of things that humans can do, and that's going to displace human work.
On a street corner in San Francisco, Cafe X, the only coffee shop in America run by a robot. The robot's young inventor says employees can focus on customers instead of the boring task of actually making the coffee. But in an unusually frank admission, he concedes by using robots, the business is able to reduce one of its highest costs.
Certainly it gives us the flexibility to sort of adjust the amount of labor we have on site, because the kind of basic functionality of making drinks is done by a robot.
Chances are you will eventually have a robotic colleague at work, but it's unlikely you will actually be replaced anytime soon. After all, customers still need human interaction, and robots still need us. For now. Kim Brunhuber, CBC News, Los Angeles.
A young Calgary girl is part of a team designing a new prosthetic hand. Coming up, we'll show you what they have planned and tell you what they need to make it happen.
Friday on the Early Edition, our workplace columnist looks into the open office concept. She'll tell us why a new study determines it may not be the most productive idea after all. That's tomorrow morning on the Early Edition, beginning at 5 a.m.
The girl from Calgary is part of a potentially life-changing project for people who use prosthetic limbs.
She's part of a team developing a new design that could be created using a 3D printer.
But as Anis Hedari explains, the team is still looking for a bit more help.
I am 11 years old and I am looking for a new hand because this hand could not carry heavy objects.
Jerlena Ritwaj is still thankful for the free prosthetic she got a year ago. It was made by high school students in Cochrane who wanted to experiment with a 3D printer, but it's not a perfect fit. Enter Enviromakers, the charitable arm of Colin Pischke's 3D printer company. He heard about Jerlena from a story on the CBC last year and thought she'd be the perfect test case as they try to make more sophisticated prosthetics at a small fraction of the traditional cost.
What we have is the ability to make the raw objects.
What they don't have is someone who knows what to make.
So if you think about paper printing, for example, we have the printer, we have the paper, we don't have the Word file.
They're looking for volunteer biomedical engineers, but it's a big time commitment.
It's not a simple skill that we're looking for, and it's not a simple task that we're asking them to do. So I totally understand.
I'm gonna be basically like the guinea pig because this is the first time that company has ever tried to make a hand.
If they find the right expert, they plan to make a template for use around the world. Anissa Dari, CBC News, Calgary.
Well, a group of grandmothers in Alberta is giving a high school class a master lesson in gaming.
But it's not your new age type of gaming. In fact, it's the old-fashioned kind of gaming, that is Scrabble.
Seniors are raising money for grandmothers in Africa. CBC's Travis McEwen explains.
Oh, shrines. Yes, excellent. Okay. Today we have a really exciting day. We have a gang coming in to work with our high school students, grade 10, 11, 12, in an intergenerational Scrabble tournament.
Because like, she's a grandma and like, it's like really cute. And like, she was just really nice and it was a good experience.
I wish more people could do this because teenagers in general and high school students often have a reputation for being rude or feeling entitled and all those kinds of things that you hear about teenagers. And boy, I just see the opposite when I come to a school like this.
Love a good game of Scrabble.
So do I.
All for Africa, that's very good.
Yeah.
All right, well, we're done here. Snow tomorrow.
Snow tomorrow morning.
Okay, get ready.
Awesome.
Dan's here at 11. Good night.